Greetings, AACUC family. My name is Kevin Martin, and I am here to be your Master of Ceremony for our first Town Hall of 2025. I am looking forward to this conversation that is ahead of us. We have three primary objectives for today. That is acknowledge, attune, and affirm. First, we want to acknowledge all the changes that we're experiencing here in 2025. We want to acknowledge the actions of the new administration. We want to acknowledge the reversing of commitment to conclusion by some orgs here in our country. And more importantly, we want to acknowledge that you are impacted personally and professionally by these decisions and actions. Second, we want to attune to you, our membership. AACUC is a member-centric organization, and we are here to serve your needs. So we're here to listen to how are you feeling in this 2025 thus far? What are you concerned about? What's confusing? And probably more importantly, what do you need to be able to give 110% to this movement that we all love here in 2025? We're going to create some space to hear from you later in this town hall. But for right now, I'd love for you to maybe share in the chat how you're feeling. You can use an emoji, you can use your words. Just want to get a kind of a pulse check on how you're feeling today. Overwhelmed. I'm mad. I understand. I empathize. Afraid, scared, anxious. Okay. So I want to do a quick poll. And the poll we're going to flash on your screen here in a moment. So acceptance is a journey. And I want to know where you are in this journey. So take a moment to self-reflect. Are you in this emotionally charged state where you are upset, having a sense of loss or disbelief? Or are you confused and unclear, looking for more information, looking for a trusted source of information, trying to understand what's real versus what's a distraction? Are you ready to get back to work, motivated to work and help people as we are a movement of people helping people? I'll give you a moment to respond to that poll. Looks like most folks are ready to get to work. So you've already gone through the emotions and the confusion. Well, good, you're in the right place. 70+ people responding. Looks like it's leaning towards ready to work. Well, good. Well, let's start on that process and that journey right now. The last objective is to affirm. We want to affirm that your feelings, whatever they are valid. They are normal. You are not alone in this journey. We are here with you. And probably most importantly, we want to affirm our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, particularly in a time when organizations are pulling back. The AACUC is stepping forward and standing tall. 10 toes down when our commitment to making sure that every person that's in our communities has an opportunity to thrive financially, to be a contributing member of our society. And we know that inclusion allows for that conversation to occur. So with that said, I'd like to introduce the speakers that will be joining this town hall. Someone who needs no introduction, Mrs. Renee Sadywhite, President and CEO of AACUC, and Shelton Rulak, Strategic Communications and Public Policy Consultant for AACUC. How are you both doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm glad we're doing this. Our membership said, let's talk about it. Let's get it going.
Thank you, Shelton.
I'm always happy to be with the Credit Union family. They always welcome me back into the fold, no matter how long I'm away. So good to see you all again.
Welcome back. So Shelton, I'm going to pass it over to you and share some of the changes that we've all experienced here in 2025 thus far.
All right. Thank you so much, Kevin. First, I want to say happy Black History Month, everybody. With everything going on, I think we somehow, that might have gotten lost in the shuffle. But AACUC always brings that to the forefront. So I want to kick it off and say happy Black History Month, happy heavenly birthday to Rosa Parks. Our history, as you know, is so rich and full of people who persevered in the face of challenges. And so we'll be no different in this moment in time. All right, so just going to briefly go to a quick overview of some of the changes that have occurred, which are changing by the minute, it feels like. Since Donald Trump was inaugurated on January 20th, there has been 47 executive orders. And so 26 came within like the first week or so. And it's been an overwhelming number of I guess, of outputs. And so some of that is still being analyzed. The repercussions are still being felt. But I just want to give you a quick overview of some things that have jumped out at us over the course of the last few weeks. So the first order was issued on January 20th revolving diversity, equity, and inclusion. That ordered federal diversity offices closed and dismissal of DEI staff from those federal agencies. It also directed agencies to terminate equity-related grants and contracts. Then the following day, second order was issued on the 21st, which directed the Attorney General and certain agency heads to draw up lists of publicly traded companies and universities with endowments over $1 billion to potentially investigate them over their DEI programs. It also revoked an executive order that President Johnson signed in 1965 that ensured that the opportunity for people of color and women in federal contractors, recruitment, hiring, training, and other employment practices. So it revoked that order. Both of those orders are being challenged in court. A quick note about executive orders: they can only be implemented within the executive branch, and they must comply with the Constitution and federal laws. So again, while it feels like a flurry of things are happening, they are. And the impacts feel immediate. There are systems and institutions to challenge these things, and they are being challenged. As you know, there's been a lot of talk about tariffs, and they also have a great impact on some of your members. There was yesterday, as a matter of fact, the U.S. was scheduled to impose a 25% tariff on all goods from Canada and Mexico. However, that has been paused for a month. The rationale behind that was the president was trying to force both of those countries to curb migration and drug trafficking into the country. A tariff was imposed, a 10% tariff was imposed on China. That's punishment for China failing to rein in the smuggling of fentanyl chemicals to Canada and Mexico, where they made it into U.S.-bound fentanyl. So those are again, those things have, since so much of our imports come from Canada, Mexico, and China, about half, those tariffs could significantly disrupt supply chains, raise costs on businesses, eliminate hundreds of thousands of jobs, and ultimately drive up consumer prices, all which will impact your members. Just this morning, the new Treasury Secretary, Steve Bissent, is now named the acting director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They've been ordered to halt all work. Again, creating uncertainty. When I first got into policy work, an old boss of mine said, what credit unions like, what financial services people like is certainty, right? We want to know that the rules today are going to be the same as the rules tomorrow. And what this is extremely uncertain time. And so those are just a brief overview of some of the executive actions that have occurred, many of which are far-reaching, more expected to come. There's one in the process of being drafted, as I understand it, to dissolve the Department of Education, right? I'm not sure how that will impact student loans, right? I don't think the drafters really know how that will impact. Again, there's a lot of analysis to be done about the ramifications of these things. In ramifications of these orders, and also if these orders are indeed legal, because the attempt to dissolve a federal agency can't be done without an act of Congress, but it certainly can be disrupted. So those are just a few of the ongoing happenings in the last few weeks. I know many people on this call have been following this stuff closely, so feel free to chime in or in the chat if you have more information than I have up to date. But again, 47 so far. A lot of analysis to go. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Sheldon. So It's interesting that you mentioned that a lot of things are changing. However, there are challenges, so things don't necessarily go into effect immediately, and there's already been delays on things that were forecasted. And so important not to maybe not overreact, but be prepared. Primary focus where I'm placing my attention is how does this impact our members across the credit union space? Already prices have been a challenge for our members. We see it in in their ability to repay and some of the challenges they experience. And so tariffs, particularly 25% tariffs on two of our largest trading partners, is bound to be felt by our members, making their lives more difficult. And so we'll be looking for ways to help save them money. I'm sure that everyone on this call who works at a credit union will be doing the same. With that said, I'd like to pass it over to Renee Sattywhite to share how AACUC is approaching this new changing dynamic that we operate in.
Well, thank you. Not to give a plug for our conference, Not Like Us. We are bold, mindful, and brave. And so it's just starting from there, having that, the board of directors of AACC, my esteemed board of directors, my dream team board of directors are always looking at how does it affect our membership? We are passionate. Most of you know that I'm the possibility of people serving other people passionately. So AACC is passionate about making sure that our members feel heard, that we bring you information as soon as we get it. We tapped into Shelton Rulak, who worked at CUNA when it was CUNA as director of advocacy. So he was part of our partnership with CUNA, but he was also our vice chair of advocacy. So we have great faith in what he can do for us and the insight that he brings. So the board of directors of AACC are looking forward to making sure that we have all the information that we can get to give it back to you. But the other thing that we talked about as a board was being hopeful for our membership, being hopeful for the industry itself. I believe that AACUC is the heart and soul of the credit union industry, and we will continue to show up that way. We'll continue to provide you with, I sound like a politician, we'll continue to provide you with the safe space to be yourselves, to feel the feelings that you have. I was one whooped sister. I felt like it was a George Floyd moment for the sisters when the election happened. So then to come fast forward to the inauguration and all the executive orders being signed, I was tired, I was sad, I was depressed. But my board of directors and my leadership team, and my AACC family, they rallied around me, sending me texts, calling me, making sure I was okay. I'm looking at flowers from Bev Anderson. I'm looking at how we can help all of you. AACC has 25 years of leadership. Trust us. Trust us. We will help you navigate through this. That is what we do. That's how we do it. Again, we are bold, mindful, and brave. Not like us. Not like us, Kevin.
Not like us. We got to play that song every time you drop that line. Not like us. You know, that's very apropos. That sounds exactly like the theme that we should have for this year's AACUC conference. I'm looking forward to it. Renee, where will it be?
It's going to be in Alpharetta, Georgia, about 45 minutes away from Atlanta, at a little place called the Avalon, a Marriott property that's gorgeous and beautiful. It's kind of like secluded the way it was in 2017 when we were in Raleigh. But I believe we're going to have a good time. As you know, the last AACC conference that we were just AACC members, last year we were in Las Vegas combined with CU Leadership. However, this year, it's going to be off the chain. My team has done some incredible stuff. I looked on the website this week and I'm like, oh, they just really doing the doggone thing. So just lots of pictures and ease of trying to register and navigate. And I had about 15 people already text me that they had registered for the conference when it opened up, and that was thrilling. And I'm going to give you guys a little secret. When I first came back to AACC in 2015 conference, Kevin's first conference, he was the first person to register. And so consequently, like 3-4 years into it, he was the very first person every year to register. Kevin, you missed out.
Right. I didn't have the inside scoop like I usually had in prior years. Well, I would say if you plan to attend the conference, I'll say you jump on that immediately. AACUC has over 1,600 members and a reach of over 4,000 people. And so I'm particularly convinced that in a year such as this one, the conference will be well attended. And so please sign up early and tell your friends.
So
All
some of
right.
the other things, excuse me, Kevin, I didn't get to finish. Some of the other things that AACC is doing on behalf of our membership, we're meeting with policymakers, led by Shelton Rulak, making sure that we meet with the Congressional Black Caucus when we're at GAC. We are doing things that are making sure that we can talk to the policymakers. We're in lockstep with NCUA. We've had a really good history with NCUA with the past two chairmen. We believe that it's going to be the same with the incoming chairman. And so one of the things that I think is really, really critical for AACUC and for you to know as members is that we always, always, always are looking out for you first. One of the things that we're not going to do during GAC is hold the DEI Tuesday event. AACC came up with that years ago. Inclusive jumped on it, and so did NowCup. Well, it got to be so good at the GAC that CUNA then decided to do it. Well, this year, AACC is not going to do DEI Tuesday because our Hall of Fame is going to be in a government building, a government-funded building, the OAS building, the beautiful OAS building, and we don't want our partners to have any trouble. So we're gonna hold the line, Kevin. We're gonna hold the line. And we're gonna celebrate our AACC alumni, but we're gonna celebrate in a way that is respectful for everyone and all parties concerned at this time.
Yes. And I think it's awesome that we get a chance to get together in DC as a family. I would encourage you, if you have not been to GAC, to look to attend. And I would also encourage you to hike the hill, particularly in a year and such as this. Make sure that your representatives hear from you and understand your concerns. Tell them their stories about your members and how things are becoming challenging for them, particularly when it comes to regulation, but also policy changes. All right, it's time for us to start to attune, to listen, to understand what your questions are. Now, this is the first conversation that we expect of many. So we may not have the answer for you today, but it is our promise that we will go find the answer for you if we don't have it today. So with that said, I'd like to ask, what questions do you have about the recent executive orders that have occurred? You can share in the chat. We have somebody monitoring the chat to help us. Or you can I think you can come off mute now and ask your question, but we'd like you to raise your hand so that we don't speak over each other. And I'm going to ask that my friends Shelton and Renee help me to answer any questions that may arise. So please raise your hand if you have a question or place it in the chat. The first questions are around recent events. How are things changing?
I'm sorry, Kevin, was that a question? Recent events, how are things changing?
No. I'm asking the group to share their questions about any particulars around the various executive orders.
I would say people are scared and confused and don't understand what they mean. So how can we do a better job of people understanding? What do you need from us?
As you can think through your questions, here's a couple of things that I experienced through this last few weeks. It definitely can be an emotional experience. What I've learned, though, is if I could get through the emotional experience that I had in the wake of George Floyd's murder, then I know that I'm more prepared for anything that this country could throw at us. And so for those who may or may not know, I now meditate daily. And it allows me to focus on me, my breathing, what I need, and fill my cup so that I can help those like my mother and those in my family, my brother, my sisters, etc. And so make sure you put your mask on first. And I do that every morning before getting started with any turning on the news or reading the newspaper. Invest in yourself first. All right, I think I see some questions coming in. Will the executive orders, oh, they're coming in too fast now. Will the executive orders stop the DEI efforts that the NCUI has undertaken, such as the annual DEI summit or the annual diversity survey? That's a really great question. Renee, I know that you're connected with the NCUA and their board, some of their board members. Have you had a chance to hear from them in the wake of some of these DEI changes?
So I'm going to tell you, I've been in contact with the NCUA. However, a lot of it has been happening so quickly. So not this week. So last week, yes, but not this week. And then being in this week, some things have changed. What I will say is my guess is that the NCUA, because they're a government regulated body, that they're not going to lean in that way. I believe that they will lean in, but it will probably be in a different way, a different semantics, a different way of saying it. But I do honestly believe that they're going to lean in what we have as a community, as a movement, and I say movement, not movement. We have people helping people. So as long as we're looking at it from the lens of how can we keep making sure that our people are taken care of and that it's belonging and inclusive, I think that it doesn't matter if you call it DEI. We are invested in the 8th cooperative principle. We rally people around that. And then I believe that whatever is going on, we can overcome. So I don't think that NCUA is going to continue with those activities for the next 4 years, but I do believe that they'll do something substantive that's going to make it equivalent to for this particular administration. But I have not. No one has said anything to me, so I don't know. I haven't confirmed that, but I will certainly make it a point to do a follow-up on that.
Yeah, I understand.
Great question.
You don't want to speak on their behalf, right? I think it's important to understand, or just to remind ourselves, we all know this, our members are not just members, they're owners. They literally own a share in each of our organizations that are credit union. And so the conversation around inclusion, I think, is a little different when the organization is owned by those in which you serve. When folks ask me why I think inclusion is so important for credit unions to focus on, it's important for credit unions to understand their membership, their challenges, their relationship with money, their concerns, their aspirations. Inclusion is one of the arrows in the quiver to help you better understand what your members need, and that should be reflected in your products, in your services, in your decisions, in your strategy, in your marketing, etc. And so for credit unions not to focus on inclusion, I would ask, well, who in your membership do you plan not to serve? With that said, I'll go over to James. I see your hand is raised. Sir, what question do you have?
Thank you, and thank you to the group for putting all this together. I think this is outstanding. One outstanding AACUC is, and also the sharing of this information, I think, is critical. In the work that we do at JP Enterprises with credit unions and leagues, one of the questions that has been a theme, I should say the theme evokes a question, which is, how are you going to approach the language around DEI? And Renee, you did a head nod towards it. What we have seen is that some are, to steal what you said, Kevin, 10 toes down, and I said what I said, and this is what it's going to be. Others are a bit more circumspect. They understand the nature of what is happening in their space, but all around there are questions as to what should we be doing? Is there going to be a new set of language around this? So my question is, what themes have you all seen in your work that is it driving towards a new set of language? Is it driving towards, hey, I said what I said, DEI is what it is, or is it something else altogether?
Renee Shelton, any reactions to that before I go?
So I talked to the leaders in this industry, and one in particular, I don't want to name any names, but when I said I need your wise counsel, this is, we've got this DEI backlash here. What do I do? What do you suggest I do? And they shared with me what they're doing at their organization. We're holding the line. And so my partners, people have asked me previously, has any members dropped out? And have you seen any backlash? AACUC is under a bubble, y'all. Nothing. We've received more support than we've ever had in our entire history of this organization. But that's because we are here for you. We're making sure that you get what you need. I believe that we're going to move into an area where people are doing the language thing, James. I think that's what it is. More about if I have to change the language, what still do I mean? I still mean we include everybody. That's what we do. And so from that standpoint, I think that the leaders who are already involved in inclusion, let's just call it inclusion for right now. The leaders who want that for their members are going to keep doing that. So I am not concerned about whether AACC is going to lose members. And quite frankly, if we do, they needed to go. That's fine. But others will come in because they need our assistance and our help. And not to give a plug to you, James, and your organization, but I do want you to do that. I want you to share with everybody what your organization does and how valuable you are to AACUC. I think it's very important that they understand, our membership understands that they can use your company as a resource. You got 30 seconds, fella.
Well, what we do is help organizations build a bridge between leaders and teams. So the more tightly knit leaders and teams are, the more productive they are, the more innovative, the more creative, and the more profitable they are. There are things that get in the way of leaders and teams. Some of that is firmly seated in sort of the DEI realm of difference, of gender, of race, et cetera. It's also in transformational change. New CEO comes in. Maybe there's loneliness that's involved. Maybe there's a variety of other things, environmental factors. A hurricane happens, a snowstorm happens, a firestorm happens. All of these can be wedges in between leaders and teams in moments of crisis. I strongly believe that it's the leader's job to bring calm to the chaos. But you can't do that without the knowledge of what is happening within the context of your organization. We provide an assessment that allows you to see that, and then a roadmap to help you to execute on that. So appreciate the opportunity for the commercial. And I'm certain that there are other organizations that are doing wonderful. So if we're not the best fit for you, find somebody to help you. The fact that you happen to be Black-ish, brown-ish, woman-ish, supporter-ish, ally-ish of any of this doesn't make you necessarily an expert in this. Many of you are fantastic accounting people, strategy people, et cetera, but get some help if you need some help. Right? Get help if you need some help. We all have to be in this thing together, and that's how we win.
Thank you, James. I'll give some perspective from, feet on the ground at the credit union that I work for. We don't have any plans to change the terminology around DEI. We have discussed it, and I'm sure we will continue to do so. What I think is probably most important, though, is to understand the why and how DEI, belonging, whatever term you want to use, supports your mission. And I think those who have backtracked is because for them, inclusion was a public relations tactic as opposed to a mission-driven purpose. And so I can speak only on behalf of Schools First. We operate in one of the largest states in the nation of California, the most diverse state in the union, and our members come from every walk of life. We also define inclusion and diversity using a diversity wheel. So yes, of course, it includes ethnicity and gender, but it also includes geographic location. It also includes, military experience. It also includes education and function within the organization. It includes so many different factors. To focus just on gender or sexual orientation is not giving diversity its due credit. You're not thinking big enough. You're not thinking grand enough, and you're likely not including everyone. And so I would stress for you to be inclusive and intentional in your definitions, and define for your organization the why and how it supports your mission. I'm going to stop talking and pass it over to somebody who's way smarter than me. Emma Hayes, you have your hand raised. You're on mute. The mute monster got you, but you look great.
Thank you, Kevin. First of all, I also want to echo the sentiment, and Ms. Renee, I thank you for grounding AACUC in the possibility of people serving people passionately. This is one of those times when a lot of us in this industry, with the work that we do to make sure that our members are represented in our organizations, find solid footing in this organization. So I thank you for your heart for your members. My question is around the appointments that we are seeing come out of this current administration. We know that CFPB has a new director. Do we know, or do we have any insight as to how these appointments are going to impact us as an industry, especially when there's so much focus right now on how we trim budgets and how we cut social programs and how, so any insight you might have on how these appointments either support or would hinder some of those objectives would be greatly appreciated.
Shelton.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Hi, Emma. Great to see you again. Thank you for that question. So the appointments are ongoing right now. We're seeing the major, I guess, the top cabinet officials being chosen: Treasury, Department of Defense, Homeland Security, Health and Human Services is still sort of working its way through committee. Director of National Intelligence is working through committee, I think, today as well. So. But I think the most, I guess, aside from the appointments, the most, I guess, the best way to sort of predict how these appointments are going to impact our industry are sort of thinking about Project 2025, right? And I know that prior to election, the president said that he was not familiar with it, but if you look at all the executive orders and the actions that have been taken so far, they've all sort of been aligned with that document. And so I think since these appointments are just occurring, it sort of remains to be seen exactly how they'll impact sort of financial services space, but with something that we're certainly keeping abreast of. Again, like I said, with when I opened the firing / resignation of the CFPB director on Saturday was telling, and right, and the installation of acting director, who also is the Treasury Secretary, saying putting a stoppage on all work of the organization of that agency, gives us an indication that, especially in the financial services space, that there is thought that it may be that may lead to less regulation, which on the surface could look really positive, but the implications of that, right? How does that erode trust with the public? How does that create uncertainty within the industry? The implications of that are yet to be seen, and it will take a little bit more analysis than we have in the first couple of weeks of this administration. Does that answer your question, or partly? It's a little bit of a punt, but
yeah, it's a bit of a punt, and it's okay. I'll stay tuned. But I do want us all like top of mind thinking about the people that are going to be serving in these positions and their views and vantage point and how it's going to impact us, not just as individual organizations and the work that we do, but as an industry. If we think about tax exemption, well, not exemptions because we do pay taxes, but when we think about the implications that these appointments are going to have, I want us all not distracted by the sleight of hands that's going on, and that we're laser focused on how it impacts us as an industry, and particularly how it will impact our members, that downstream effect that it will have on our membership. So I wanted to make sure people are focused on all the things that are actually important and not sidebarred or distracted by the emotion of the moment. I too lived in the moment of emotion, but it's short-lived because we got work to do. History is they're trying to erase history and take books. So I need you all buying books and telling our story to our people, to our children, to all children. There's no excuse. We know how to read, so we can tell our story. So let's not be complicit in the work that the enemy is attempting. Let's make sure that we're doing our part. And I'll get off my soapbox.
Thank you, Emma.
Kevin,
I will say,
Kevin,
go ahead, Renee.
you mind? I feel the spirit that we need to acknowledge our DEI professionals whose titles say DEI, whose titles are entrenched in that. So if you're feeling some kind of way, let it get out. Feel it. Know that we embrace you here and we celebrate you here. So I just want to put that out there, because I know that if my title said diversity officer or something of that nature, it may cause me cause for concern, but need you to know that here at AACUC, safe space, safe place for you.
Yes, and lean on your other colleagues. I just want to say something in response to Emma's question. Let's remember this administration's first administration and the volatility of that. Expect that again. Anybody who tells you they know exactly what's going to happen in this administration, they don't. But I think what I learned from the first go around to this one is not to react to every headline and every tweet or whatever they call it now. And I'll set aside some time. I'll listen to the Wall Street Journal for the 15-minute podcast to get the update on what happened today, what happened this week, as opposed to responding and reading and hanging on every word that's being said. Because we all thought tariffs were going to go into effect today. Oh, we got 30-minute reprieve, right? And just so many different things. We thought TikTok was going away. Oh, all of a sudden it's back, right? So don't let I didn't have these gray hairs 8 years ago, but I got them now. I don't plan on adding any more. I'm going to go to the chat and then I'm going to come back to you, Ivy. So the question that was sent over, so many decisions have been made in seemingly last-minute random fashion with little understanding of its wider impact, revoking status of some asylum seekers. How do we navigate questions in which we don't quite yet know what's actually legal, if the administration's executive orders actually stand, et cetera, question mark? A big concern is the status of I-10 holders. Renee, Shelton, any responses there? I'm actually going to invoke my friend Emma too, just in case she has a response.
So I think, as we know that executive orders are subject to legal challenges, right? And so I think from a credit union perspective, I know all credit unions have either a general counsel or have some sort of legal advisor, right? Like that would be my first sort of go-to to determine what's legal today at this moment. As Kevin said, it's really volatile situation. But for example, birthright citizenship was one of the executive orders that was signed. Quickly, 17 states, with New York Attorney General Letitia James leading the way, sought to appeal that, block that in court. So there's always, so this is a highly quickly, everything is fast moving. Headlines change from moment to moment to the next. My sort of counsel would be to confer with your legal counsel to ensure that that you're doing what's in line with all legal requirements. And as Kevin said, things are fast moving, things get reversed, things get stopped, things get paused. And so it would take a whole team of folks to sort of be able to keep track of where things are going on in this administration. And I know that all of you have day jobs, and so I would not advise anybody to sort of take that on, right? What we can do is try to convey information to you as we get it. But again, understanding that it's fast moving, and and we'll be sort of updating as we can, and we'll tour around with different ways of getting that information out to you. A newsletter theoretically would be great, but by the time we send it out, something will be shifted, right? So how do we get that information to you out in real time is sort of the question. And if we're dealing with that question, I think news agencies are dealing with that same sort of challenge.
I think it's great advice to consult your legal advisor so you understand how things are happening on the ground where you serve members, because things will be different in different jurisdictions. Yes. Ivy, what question may we answer for you?
Good afternoon, everyone. And I don't know if it's as much a question as a wonderment, maybe for the group, a little bit of a consideration, a little bit in alignment with Emma's closing portion of what she shared. You know, when we think about credit unions, they were founded through a movement, and they were founded in and because of the need of people helping people. So when we use that terminology, it's not just a term, it's truly why credit unions were created. And sometimes I think in the silo of work, we lose that a little bit. We don't always center back on that foundation of why credit unions came to be. And so with that in mind, I wonder what it would look like for AACUC and maybe credit unions nationwide to focus on a proactive centering in messaging around people helping people, and around what the movement was created to be about, people helping all people. Because that is inclusion, and that was inclusion at the foundation before it was ever called DEI or IED or any other name we wanted to call it. It was really this idea of coming together to support all, and especially the margins. And so with that in mind, I just wonder what it would look like for us to all center around a narrative together of, and a reminder of people helping people, especially as you talk about things like the policymakers and the different appointees that are coming into office. If we have a unified message in what they're hearing as they are considering changes, it could help to proactively shape the narrative and perspective around the credit union industry specifically. So just a wonder, as we are all in our space and processing our feelings, our fears, our excitements, whatever you're feeling, that, you know, what it would look like for us to not do that in a silo, but to let that fuel some type of unified message. And so I think I wonder that. And then I also say in that vein, thank you to AACUC for immediately bringing us together in space, because I think this is where something like that type of strategy could take shape.
We've got it, Ivy. We've got it. It's not like us. We're bold, mindful, and brave. Not like us. We're bold, mindful, and brave. But no, I like people helping people.
Well, but it is that, but it's reminding us of that, right? And it's reminding us the charge to go out and share that. I mean, to share that with our teams, to share that with our leaders, to sit down with your president and share it with them, you know, like, hey, you know, not what are we going to do, but hey, don't forget, we're bold, mindful, and brave. So now what are we going to do? Here's what we're going to do, you know, and just having that confidence, even if we've got to walk it out with a little bit of, all right, put your game face on. My theme right now is this chess, not checkers. I'm playing chess out here. So I'm muting now.
Thank you, Ivy. I love your suggestion. I think a unified message around people helping people is exactly what we need. I think you're absolutely right. It starts in forums such as this one. That suggestion will lead to something inspiring. You may get a call or an email from someone looking to put something together. Thank you for your question. I'm going to go to the chat, then I'm going to go to Ms. Stacy Bryant. The question that I got in the chat was, as allies, how can we help? Well, my initial reaction to this, because I didn't see anybody go off mute, is show up, bring your talent, share your insights, be present. I think that that's critical in a time like this. So regardless of what walk of life you come from, if you can help people understand the legal implications that people are trying to understand, that would be helpful on one of these forums that we're going to have this year. How do you adjust your DEI programs to make sure that they are serving your members and they don't have any type of legal jeopardy. You know, whatever your talent is, that being able to share that, letting Ms. Renee or others know what that is, and allow us to build a program around that, or at least to share those insights and provide those talking points so that those who are serving members every day or making strategic decisions within their credit unions have what they need in this time of volatility. Renee, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, one of my board of directors, who was a chapter officer for the ERC, shout out to the ERC, David Muse, Maurice Dawkins always says, when things look daunting, do more of what you do well. So for allies, do more of what you've been doing. Do more of what you've been doing. Lean in, reach out. Everybody knows around AACUC world is that John Bissell is my twin because we like to wear turtlenecks and we call each other twin. Well, my twin has been texting me the entire time that things have been happening, making sure I'm okay. That means a lot to me, right? That means a lot to me. Poor Shelton, he texts me every day. Are you okay, Miss Sadie White? Are you okay, Miss Sadie White? It's a little tough out here. It's a little tough. So for our allies, I say thank you for all that you're doing. Lean in, do a little bit more, and remember, we're counting on you to be the voice of reason in the spaces that we're not in. So thank you.
Kevin, can I just add to that? I love silent supporters, but in this moment, what we need are loud and just boisterous supporters who are willing to be courageous, be brave, and be the voice. So show up, do more of what you already do, and don't be afraid to use your voice to advocate on behalf of people helping people. I love that message, Ivy. I think it's not said enough with intention so that people understand why we exist. So I would say if you are an ally out there, that is the message that you take with you into conversations when people start to ask the question, why would we? The answer is because we're people helping people. And we need for you to say that in rooms where there may be people missing from the conversation. So I appreciate you in advance doing that. But yeah, show up, do more of what you're doing, do it loud, do it loud.
Hi guys, this is Leah. I'm not on camera. My camera is not trying to recognize itself as a camera today. But I just wanted to add to it. I think I've seen a lot of comparisons to sort of what's happening in our government today to what happened in Germany when Hitler rose to power. And what comes to mind for me is a hope that we are a different society now than we were then. And I realize we're in a different country, but what I guess I'm saying is that we don't have the same division or the same separateness or the same philosophies that allowed that to take place back then, that we have moved forward. Understandably, we still have a lot further to go, right? And so, you know, I look at some people in my community that are saying, you know, things like, you know, there was a large Hispanic population that voted for Trump. So the ICE agents, you know, to each his own, they get what they deserve. That separation and that mentality is by design, right? They are designing the way that we think about each other in an effort to keep us separate so we don't fight together, so we don't see our common goals, so we don't see our commonalities, right? And so I just, when you hear things, so similar to Emma's point, speak up. When you see injustice, speak up. When you know something is wrong, say something, because the silent support gets us back to what happened in Germany, you know, because we feel like we can't do anything. And so I don't know if any of you listen to Native Land Pod. I do, because it helps me digest politics in a way that I can understand. But one of the things that they harp on is starting at your local communities, with your local voting, with your commissioners, with your school boards, with your Congress people. Those positions matter because they're the ones that are supporting whatever happens in the White House, right? So I just say two things. One, do what you can in your communities, do what you can in your local places with your children, with your families, whatever that looks like. And also know that the division that they're trying to create with us is by design and is nothing but hurtful to us as a people.
Thank you, Leah. I do think it's worth saying and mentioning, remember that this is your country. You are an American, for good or for worse. And the country is only going to be as good as we make it. The policies, the decisions, how we're viewed in the world, how we treat each other. We won't always agree with each other. But I think we should lean in with some curiosity to best understand why people vote a certain way, why they believe a certain thing. And that's the only way that you even create a path to some common ground. If we only see each other and give each other vitriol and see each other as the other, I think Leah's point is a prudent one to acknowledge. It only leads to destruction. And so this is your country. Remember that. And just like when you disagree vehemently with somebody in your family, but you still love them, we can disagree vehemently, but we still need to show love to each other and try to find a path forward. Now, understand, I am not saying that we allow people to take the lives and livelihoods away from others. That's where I draw the line. But anything short of that, let's have a conversation. With that, I open the mic for Ms. Stacey Bryant.
Thank you so much, Kevin. That was, I think now more than ever, we need to hear that and we need to be reminded of that. It takes me back from a couple of years ago when George Floyd and everything happened and Renee just pulled all the troops and we had one of these with Maurice Smith. And it was on that call that I remember that what I needed was to make sure that I'm not alone in feeling. So when you mentioned at the top of the call, how are you feeling? Initially, it was concerned and confused, but I think that this call and everything and all the mentions from Ivy and Leah and Emma and so many more gems in the chat and Angela Russell, I see so many things that you just provoked here. It gives me a sense of let's keep going, let's keep forward. That's one thing. And the second thing I wanted to say was, oftentimes I'm an overthinker and anxiety can get the best of me. So taking that first step and understanding what's in my control, putting that mask on first. And I was at almost an all white conference last week in Phoenix, Arizona. And there's two women of color that come to me and they're a little younger than me. And they damn near cornered me and said, Stacey, what are we going to do? And I just said work. And it reminded me, and I pointed them to a LinkedIn post and I brought it up that I shared on Martin Luther King Day. And I was playing MLK's, and I'll make this quick for the sake of time, MLK, What is in Your Life's Blueprint? And he mentioned just be the best of whatever you are, and he mentioned if you can't be a pine on the top of a hill, be a scrub in the valley, but be the best little scrub on the side of the rail. Be a bush if you can, be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star, for it isn't by size that you win or fail. Be the best of whatever you are. And I think that Emma mentioning keeping us woke, so to speak, through books and through these conversations are powerful. Oma Veska, excuse me, Protect the Queen, this gem full of books where she takes art and feelings and what we're up against, and she crams it into this like daily journal, so to speak. Shout out to Opal. James by Percival Everett, which is basically the story. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's basically the story of a runaway slave and retelling the Huckleberry Finn. So powerful. So understanding history and understanding that we are to move forward and be the best of what we are and who we do and what we do rather. That's all I have to say. Thank you all.
Thank you for your words of wisdom, Stacey. So I'm going to go to Renee here in the last 2 minutes, but I'm going to give Angela an opportunity to close us out from the audience. Angela, what comment or question do you have?
Kevin, why do you seem so nervous when you said my name? Like, ooh, Angela.
I know you have a lot of knowledge, but we only got 5 minutes.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I have a comment and then a question. The comment is regarding allyship. I think a couple of things. Number one, there have been white allies. No, throughout the history of our country. So understanding what our white allies have done over time, getting courage from white abolitionists and guidance, I think will be huge. The other thing is tell us what's happening in the rooms that we're not in. Because when white folks talk among white folks, different things are said that we're not aware of, and it's helpful to know when we're gonna, walk into something that we're not really sure of. But my biggest question is, what are the naysayers of DEI in the CU industry saying? Where are they, and why are they resisting DEI, or why do they feel maybe a little bit excited about this moment? Kevin, do you have that answer?
Yes, no, I do not. So we'll take that question back. I think that's a really great question. I would love to know too, what the naysayers say in general, even before this moment. I would be so curious to understand, because I feel like it's a lack of connection, but it could be something, more foundational that I'm not aware of. So before I pass it over to Renee to close us out, I just want to say thank you for what you do every day to serve the members across this great country. Make sure that you remain connected, but don't let it take over your thoughts and emotions. Invest in yourself every single day. And happy Black History Month. Remember to celebrate that. Thank you, Shelton, for reminding us all. And I want to close out with the quote that I do love, and I think it's applicable here, from Jay-Z. Never go with the flow, be the flow. And with that said, Renee, please close us out.
Well, let me flow with that then. Thank you, Kevin. Great job in moderating. Thank you, Shelton. Great job in getting us the research and the information that was timely and accurate. Thank you for everybody who participated and gave your wisdom, gave your thoughts and your voices. Thank you to my incredible team for getting this together so quickly. We just decided, I think maybe Thursday, and here we are today. So thank you so much. And all the men, thank you for wearing ties and jackets. I appreciate that more than anything. I wanna say to you, our board of directors and our leadership and the staff at AACUC and our membership, we are one. We are here for you. We're here together. I tell you, people always ask what's the secret sauce of AACUC. The secret sauce is love and respect. As Kevin said, we can fight with our family members, but we still love them. And that's not going to change. And so I want you to reach out to people who you know might need you. Think people that you haven't thought about. This is a tough time for people. The social media and the news is scary. People have to call me and tell me what's on the news, because I won't watch it. I'll be depressed all day and will never get out of bed. So, and I wanted to be I was a broadcast journalism major. Go figure. But for the sake of AACUC, for the sake of our members, please know that we are here to assist you, and we are just a phone call away. We might even create a hotline, so if there's some questions that my team is going, she's making more work for us again, but we might be able to create a hotline where if you have specific questions, that we can field them out to our professionals and our resources to get you that information. I wish for you a great week. Thank you to the allies that continue to support us. Thank you to the membership. And more importantly, take care of yourselves. Take the time out to put your mask on first. I couldn't agree with Kevin more. I thank you, and have a good rest of this day.